What's up, Wholesale Nation? Undrea King here.
Andy Speed.
And as you can see, especially, well, if you're on YouTube, you can see. But if you're on podcast, you probably can't see this, but we have a special guest in the middle of us right now. We have Mr. Nick Perry from Austin, Texas, joining us today. So he's going to tell us about his journey and what he's done in real estate over the last several years. I met Nick. When did I meet you?
It's been like 3 or 4 years now. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while. And we met in a mastermind, I guess. And I think it was it was just our mastermind that we met in the boardroom, I guess, is where I met you the first time. Yep. And at that time, I think you had a partner at that time, so it was a little different, and we'll talk about that as we go through your story. But the reason why we brought Nick on is that from the first time I met Nick, Nick was out there, he was killing the business, right? And at the same time, he'd gone through some transitions. He's changed his business a few times, but over the last 6 months, this guy has really just lit it up, right? And I know we're going to be talking about that today. But before we go ahead and get started, Nick, how about you go ahead and just introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about where you came from and where you're at now.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys for having me on. Really been excited to do the show. Grew up right outside of Washington, D.C., Northern Virginia. And then, after I was about 25, decided to move down to Austin, Texas. So I've been in Austin about 5 years now. It was at the same time I started my wholesale business.
Right. Yeah, so Austin is a little different market than Houston, right? Do you do a lot of business right now in Austin?
I don't do really any deals in Austin. Like I'll get maybe 2 or 3 deals a quarter there, tops.
Right. That
just come in kind of organically, but we do a lot in Houston and then all over the United States.
Okay, perfect. And so when we look at your getting into real estate, like what got you into real estate then?
I mean, really, I was looking for an opportunity that was going to, not put a ceiling on the amount of money that I can make in my life. And I wanted to be my own boss as well. So, working a 9 to 5, having to, report to somebody else wasn't really my style. And I've always had an entrepreneurial vision, and real estate was just a good vehicle that kind of suited that.
Right. And you started off wholesaling and then at that point?
I did. I mean, I was broke, so I had no money, and that was the only way I could get into real estate.
Right. Yeah, and that's, you figure a lot of people get started for that reason, right? They look at the barrier of entry for wholesaling is you really don't have to have any money, right? If you got time, you can definitely make it work. But it's one of those niches like most people, they don't know anything about wholesaling. But so what was the thing because for me, I saw it on HGTV just by a fluke. Like I just so happened to run across it. But how did you actually run across wholesaling? Because I know it's not something you just see and say, okay, I'm gonna do that.
Yeah, when I first came to Austin, I didn't have a job. I was looking for jobs, but I really didn't know what I wanted to do. Like I expressed, I wanted to be my own boss. So I started doing searches best ways to make money, best ways to make, money online. And I went through the whole gamut of all the different, MLMs and all the different things. And wholesaling, was really something that resonated with me. It made sense in my mind. I knew that, other people were making money doing it. So I was like, well, if I put my best foot forward, I'll be okay.
So how did you get your start then? What was your first step?
I put myself through YouTube University. I started watching a lot of Sean Terry videos, and then was taking action. I was starting to spend the money I didn't have to put out bandit signs and do little direct mail campaigns. And I'll be straight up. Like it took me 11 months to get my first deal. It was brutal. I was hustling, handwriting letters, and spending money I didn't have, and I just kept persisting. And then eventually, started, things started to happen.
11 months to get your first deal. Were you full time at this time, or did you get a job just to?
No, I had to get a job because I moved to Austin. It was like, if I don't get a job, I'm getting evicted for sure. So, I went ahead and took a sales job, which was probably the best thing I could have done at the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
I took an inside sales position with Indeed. They're headquartered in Austin, and their sales training is top notch. So I came up through that school of sales, and that's carried over into my business and how things are structured now. So that was a blessing that, I did get that job because it provided me a good income at the time. I was crushing it at sales because I was motivated to get out of a 9 to 5. So I was making over $200,000 a year at Indeed. And at night, I would just take that commission money and funnel it right back into my wholesale business. So that's kind of how I
That's a great point for people getting started, though. If you don't have the seed capital to do this full time from the get-go and you need to maintain your bills, there's nothing wrong with getting a job that aligns with wholesaling and teaches you some skills that you're going to be able to translate into your business, which is huge. I mean, if you come from the operations side or you are doing, something that's not related to marketing or sales, building those skills and making a paycheck while you moonlight as a wholesaler is not a bad plan.
Yeah, because a lot of times you see people they put the strangle on their business because they first thing they do is quit their job. It's like, I'm gonna quit my job, but I hadn't done a deal yet, right? And
you don't even know if you like this.
Yeah, you don't even know if this is gonna work for you. You already quit your job, and now you don't have any money. You got all the time in the world, but you can't afford gas money, right? To go drive for dollars. And so that's good that you saw. You know what? I got to do whatever it takes. If I have to go get a job, and then use that to fuel the business, then that's how you grow it. But most people usually would give up before the 11th month, right? And say, oh, this doesn't work. And then they just move on with the next thing, right? So you got your first deal, took you 11 months, right? So what was the first deal like?
First deal, I was actually, this was a appointment I went on probably like month 3 or month 4 of my 11 months of no deal. And they called me back. I was on my lunch break. I'm walking down the street and my phone rings and the seller's like, hey, about that appointment you came on, 8 months ago. We're ready to move forward. So it was this old beat up abandoned house in Smithville, Texas. And I was like, okay. They signed the contract. The place was abandoned. It was like a probated house. The parents had passed away and the spouses actually the heirs lived here in Houston. So they were driving an hour and a half to cut the grass, and they finally got fed up with it,
right?
And said, let's do this. So got it under contract, went ahead and flipped that contract. I bought it for 18 and sold it for 30, so I made 12.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then at that point, I mean, that's huge, right? Because, when I came into this business, the first thing that I was told that wholesalers shouldn't make about $5,000. Right, so you kind of doubled and tripled.
So I bought like 12 deals from Undrea at $5,000, then he wised up, and
right. So that's huge, right? If you were able to do that, and so I imagine that showed you there was some proof at that point. So what did your business look like then? Like when's the next one came, or when did the next one come, and all that?
So the next one actually came pretty quickly afterwards because I just took that money. I was already making great commission money at the time, and I just doubled down on marketing. I put the majority of that money back into marketing. So like deal 2 and 3 came back to back, probably like 2 or 3 weeks later.
Okay, perfect.
So what do you attribute that to? Is it just the marketing money, just the different seed capital?
Marketing money, and then just persistence, right? Like you're not going to get anywhere in any business if you don't work your ass off. So
right.
Like I was working at night, I was working on the weekends. That was just kind of the work ethic, and then the money will get you a long way.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
Right. And then, so from there, so now you got started, you got your business going, all right? What year was this?
This was 2014.
So 2014. So you've been doing this for a while. So yeah, like 5 years, right? And so 2014, you started getting your deals, you started getting your deal flow going then. And then at one point you decided that you were going to bring on a partner also to help you out at that point, I assume.
Yeah, no, I never had a partner. At the very beginning, when I had those like 3 deals, I had a mentor that would kind of help me like disposition the deals and things like that. And he would take a 50% profit. Right. And then I had, one of my friends, kind of working for me for 10%.
Right.
And then,
well, that's a 10% partner.
Yeah. 10% partner. Yeah. So he was doing some things. And I had various people. I had my old girlfriend working in the business. That was a mistake. Don't do that, guys.
Right. Yeah. The key word was old girlfriend.
Yeah, right. That's right.
Congratulations on the engagement, by the way.
Oh, yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, I appreciate it.
Right. So you put the family in there. So I assume now you're not going to put the new fiance in the business, right?
Absolutely not. No.
Right. So you learn from your mistakes. Right. And so at that point, over the years now, were you going out to see appointments back then? Because I know your business is a little bit different now.
Yeah, I was. I mean, I used to do it like, I would say even probably like a year and a half ago, I would do a lot of marketing actually like here in like Houston, and Monday through Thursday, I would line up a bunch of appointments, and then I'd get like 9 or 10 appointments booked for the weekend, and I'd drive out here, I stay in a hotel, like nice hotel, like at the Galleria, lock up like 3 or 4 deals, and then drive back to Austin.
Right.
Go hang out, have a nice dinner, go to Joel Osteen's church, whatever, and then drive back about to drive on back. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And that's called doing whatever it takes. You hear people all the time talk about their market and what they can't get in their market. And they usually just start calling nowadays, but I guess, it wasn't that big of calling people and actually locking up over the phone wasn't that big of a deal. But, to actually go to another city and stay there and lock them up, that's huge, right? And
it wasn't bad. Like when it was just like me and like one other person, I'd, line up a bunch of appointments and come back with 3 or 4 contracts making like 40, 50 grand. Right.
Right. So, that's a good weekend. Yeah. Right. And then you were able to party and then go get a little bit of Jesus at the same time.
Exactly. That's right.
That's how you make it happen. Right. And so then we met, like I said, we met in a mastermind and, and we always talk about like, what's, the power of a mastermind. So what do you think was the biggest thing that, attributed to your business increase?
Masterminds for sure. The power of the network, not only the people that were facilitating it, but the actual network itself. Like I'm here in Houston hanging out with these guys because I met them in a mastermind 3 or 4 years ago. I have other people that I'm really closely related to that met in masterminds. We're doing business together. Right. We're working on projects together. And that's from relationships that I cultivated years ago. But the power of the mastermind was what really changed everything for me. If I had like one piece of like golden nugget for somebody to write down was like, in any business you get into, hire the best coach, right?
Right.
First off, it's going to save you so much money, time, energy, mistakes, whatever they want. If it's the best coach, pay them whatever they want. I've never regretted spending money on a high level mastermind ever.
Right. Yeah, we've never not had a return.
Yeah. And I think I've seen you in quite a few. Right. I've seen you in, quite a few events over the past few years. So he's definitely speaking from experience. Right. And as we go through his business, we'll kind of look at, what that's done for him. So when you came in, you said over the last 6 months, your business has just blown up. Right.
Yeah. Glory be to God on that. We've been working hard, but a lot of positive things from, the work prior, going to masterminds, learning new things day in and day out and implementing kind of, that momentum over time compounds.
So right. What sparked the shift?
I think what was really big that sparked the shift was Scale and Escape last year in August.
Right.
I remember you saying you went to Scale and Escape the year before.
Right.
And then you really that was one of the big reasons I went to Scale and Escape.
Right.
And something at that event, me and my COO went, and it was just me and him at the time. He was like my acquisitions guy. Mm-hmm. And we just started taking a bunch of notes. And I remember after the mastermind, we sat down for like 3 hours and started putting all of our notes into an Excel spreadsheet, like this is all the stuff we need to get implemented. We started putting deadlines on all of it.
Right.
And that was like a huge catalyst for it, because we look back like 3 or 4 weeks after that and we're like, man, we come a long way in just 3 or 4 weeks. and we're still saying that to this day. Like,
right.
We're like, man, 3 or 4 weeks ago, that was like the Stone Ages. I don't know how we're operating like that now.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's huge. And that's funny you said that, because that's exactly what I saw. It's almost like I had these like shields up where I didn't really understand and really didn't know how to grow the business, or I hadn't seen anyone in Houston. Well, maybe I wasn't networking enough, I guess, maybe, but I didn't know anyone in Houston that was running like big operations and doing a lot of deals and things like that from a wholesale standpoint. I knew from a flipping standpoint, but not from a wholesale standpoint. And when I went there and I saw people doing it, right, and they had teams and things like that, I was like, man, I got to think bigger. Right. And so that's what I got out of that. And so, it looks like you got the same. Right.
100%. There was, a lot of other people I could give shout outs to. Obviously Scale and Escape was a huge dot like mm-hmm. in my business. But, fast forward a little bit, going to, Rafael Vargas's mm-hmm. mastermind, huge, going to the All In event with Carlos and Sal.
Right.
Like huge, all that stuff has played a big role in our success.
Right. And so what does your business look like now?
Right now, we're a team of 12. So myself,
so that's
CEO,
a big jump from 2.
Yeah, 2 to 12. Myself as a CEO, and then I have a COO who also oversees our acquisitions team. We have 5 full-time acquisition managers. Then we have a follow-up manager that kind of makes sure, nothing slips through the cracks. Anybody that hasn't been contacted gets followed up with. Then we have 3 full-time disposition managers, and all they do is sell our deals all day long.
Right.
And then an accountant. We have some virtual assistants, some people that help us out with hiring and interviewing, things like that.
Okay. All right. And so let's break that down, right? And so you said you have 6 acquisitions now?
Yeah, my COO, he does some calls, but he's not really able to do calls anymore. So like if you had to count it, like actual full-time banging the phones every single day, it's 5 full-time guys right now.
Okay. And right now, and you said banging the phones, right? So a lot of people that are doing this are going out, seeing appointments. You're going out, seeing houses. You're locking them up on the contract. So what you're saying is that you're not doing that right now.
No, it's all inside sales.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So explain that. So how does that process work? Because some people believe that you can't lock up a deal over the phone, that it's just not going to work, and if it does, you're not going to make any money. So you kind of explain, like how does that work then?
I mean, it's very similar to going on an appointment, right? Except it's over the phone. So we have leads that come in from different source mediums. We do a lot of pay-per-click advertising. We do a lot of cold calling as well. So when those leads come into our podio, we pick them up just like, if you're getting ready to set an appointment with somebody, except you progress the conversation a little bit further. So, you're finding out what their needs are, learning how to solve their problem. Okay, hey, if I can make this price range work, are you ready to move forward today? Okay, great. Are you going to be in front of your computer?
Right.
10 minutes, you call them back. And then, I'm in front of my computer. Okay, open the DocuSign. Just read through it. I can explain anything to you. Initial here, and then that's it.
Right.
Boom.
Yeah.
That's how you do it. And so when the leads come in, so who's answering the phones? The acquisitions answer the phone, or how does that work?
Yeah. So we have a sales floor, and like if a PPC call comes in or a website lead comes in, it simulcalls our whole sales floor. So, whoever gets to it first gets it. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So they're always like trying to make their phones work faster, like getting Wi-Fi boosters and stuff.
Right.
But if a cold calling lead comes in, or something from another marketing channel, our COO Brandon will distribute those leads depending on how many leads are in each acquisition rep's book at the time.
Right. Okay. And so then so the lead comes in, they call it, they try to lock it up, right? What happens when they don't lock it up, and what happens to the lead after that?
Well, I mean, it's either going to get marked as dead, or we're going to go ahead and follow up with it until we get that contract. I'm all about, I know people are like follow up. Well, that's good with good leads.
Right.
We're not going to sit there and waste our time on trash.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So, if they don't get it under contract, they're going to continue to follow up if there's that initial interest. If it's just not a good lead, they're asking prices out of their mind. There's no motivation. We're dumping it.
Right. You trash it. Yeah. Right. And then you said you had someone that was doing a follow up also. What is that person's job entail?
So, in a given day, we get a ton of leads. So, and every single day, these people, our acquisition managers are getting fresh leads. And then there's a portion of people, if you guys have ever done anything on the phone ever, a lot of people don't answer their phones, right?
Right, yeah.
So there's going to be a portion of people that don't 50%. Answer their phones. And they do their best at getting those people on the phone, but they've got to get through these new leads. New leads take priority, right?
Right.
So anybody that hasn't answered the phone from the day, our follow-up managers trying to get them on the phone too.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so once they get them on the phone, then they just swing them back over to acquisitions and they take over from there, or do they try to close the deal?
No, they won't close the deal. They'll do some light qualification on it, and then either live transfer it over, or they'll just go ahead and, hey, when's a good time? Are you available? Really try to nail down a time that they can get called, and they'll stick a calendar invite on our acquisitions people, or create a task for them in Podio. Okay.
And so, like, for those people that want to transition, right? Because I was just talking to someone yesterday, and to be able to transition from going out, seeing appointments, right? They want to get there a little bit quicker. What advice would you give to the person that's going to be transitioning to locking the deals up over the phone, going from going out to see people? What advice would you give that person?
I would go ahead and advise, like, if you're looking to go into like remote, get on like Rafael Vargas's training. His stuff's really good. He's got really good scripts, and that's all they do is close stuff over the phone.
Right.
We had to do it out of necessity, because we're nationwide, and I couldn't keep running to Houston every weekend. But just pretend like you can't go see the house. Like, what would you do if you were not able to get out there?
Right.
Yeah.
So what do you do when the seller doesn't respond to selling over the phone? Do you have some sort of method where you find somebody local to go out on the appointment, or do you just scratch that lead and say this isn't our model?
No, we'll just if we have to, like there's older sellers that don't use email or they don't feel comfortable, DocuSign it. We run into that maybe it's rare, maybe 1 in 30 times.
Right.
Like, it's not that common. So don't let that be a mental block to you in the beginning. But if that is the case, like we actually had one today where we have to go get it signed. The seller's elderly and needs a little bit of help walking through it. So, get in contact with a local realtor there and say, hey, we're looking at purchasing this home. Not really sure what we can do with it yet. We need to get it under contract. Can you go out there and, the lady's a little bit older, just walk her through it and make sure she signs it and get us a few pictures.
Right.
And, if we end up, listing on the MLS, obviously we'll work with you.
Right.
Make it beneficial for the person going out there. Or you can get somebody on, I would, if you're going to have to get a contract signed, use a real estate professional. Don't send somebody on like Thumbtack or something.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you definitely don't want that.
Yeah.
Right. At least someone that's professional, can represent you well, that kind of thing is what you're looking for.
Absolutely.
Okay, perfect. And so now, you've got the deal locked up, right? Now you're locking them up all over the place.
Yeah,
right?
that's correct. Yeah.
And so the next question is going to come like, so when I lock them up in Timbuktu, right? Mm-hmm. How do I disposition this property? So, so how does your disposition work in to be able to get to dispose of those properties or to be able to sell those properties?
Yeah, I mean, we sell the majority of our deals get sold in one of very few different ways. Either Facebook, we'll sell them to one of the investors on our list. We have a massive database of investors, or through a realtor in that area.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so let's look at that database, because a lot of people have problems just getting a few people on there on that database. All right. So how'd you go about building that?
Well, a couple different ways, and just in terms of an actual buyer's list. Like if you're looking to get started, you need a buyer's list ASAP. I'd look at, Cash Buyers Plus. It's Sal and Carlos's program, and it works good. I mean, we get a pretty high response rate on that. Another way too is just get on Zillow and hit Agent Finder, type in the zip code where you got the deal, and then start getting all those people into a spreadsheet, and then cold calling them or texting them, whatever you got to do. Agents are pretty hungry to like get listings and make money. Right. So we always tell them like, hey, tack your fee on top of the wholesale price, and they come through a lot of times.
Right. Perfect.
Yeah,
Perfect.
that's great advice.
Yeah, I mean, and you have to use what's available to you, right? And I think especially if you're going to be buying over the phone and selling over the phone, right? You got to partner with people to be able to help you with that, and that way your acquisition can stay focused on it, right? So, what have been your biggest challenges now that you've built a team and you got a team of 12? What's been the biggest challenges going from 2 to 12?
I mean, at this point, it's like just people management, right? You have some management headaches when it comes to like personnel and like any business, right?
Right.
And I would say also is hiring and retaining top talent. That's big for us.
Right.
Is making sure we have the right people in the right seats and they're all A players. That's probably the number one growth lever for us, is making sure we have Rockstar talent in every seat in the office. And then I do nationwide as well. So like if I get a deal in Timbuktu, like it can be tough to comp,
right?
And it can be tough to sell sometimes. So like if I get a deal in Houston, like I know it's pretty much gone. Any of the big cities really in the United States have decent comps,
right?
But rural areas can be challenging if you're trying to do virtual wholesaling. In rural markets, you might be dealing with limited comps, limited buyers. Not to say it can't be done, because we do it all day, every day. But that's definitely something we're getting better at on a daily basis.
Yeah, I love what you said about growing. It's about people now. This business used to be about real estate. Now it's about people management. And once you scale, the problems change. It's just which problems do you want to deal with. You can make a great living. You can make $500,000-$600,000 a year with ease. If you're an A player on your own, but you can't grow beyond that. Without people, and you've got to work on developing that aspect of developing people and firing yourself, essentially.
Right. And so, one of the things I was looking at is, when you look at retaining people, there's a few things you got to have. Number one, you have to have a great culture. Once you get the right person in the right seat, you have good culture. They got to have some type of advancement, right? And they got to have the earning potential has to be there. All right. And so going back to finding that A player, because that's something that we're working on now is, restaffing, and we're bringing in new departments, things like that. So how are you going about finding those A players?
Yeah, one of the biggest resources that I use, I mean, not to give a plug, but like I've worked at Indeed, so like I know how to work the system a little bit on Indeed.
Right. Note to self, talk to Nick about the hookup at Indeed.
Fix our Indeed problems.
Yeah. So I know how to generate a lot of candidates just because that's what I did for a living for 2 years. So I can get a lot of candidates coming into our job postings, but then it becomes like, oh my goodness, I got this huge stack of resumes. Now I got to look through them. Now I got to call them.
Yeah, that's the hard part.
That was me for a while. I was like screening through these resumes. I'm like, I would hate it. I'm like, all right, now I got to call this guy, and I got to spend 5 minutes on the phone with him to maybe give him an interview. So I actually outsourced that. I have a part-time. It's actually my sister.
Right.
And she does it virtually, and she just sits at home because she's getting her master's degree right now.
Right.
So after class, she'll call all the candidates, and whoever passes through her will get booked for a face-to-face interview.
Right.
So that's been huge because she knows what we want.
Right.
And, she's a pretty good screener. So I would say, if you are looking to hire and it's not something you have time for, it's an easily outsourceable task.
Right.
Just tell a trusted person. You can even get somebody on UpWork. I had somebody on UpWork screening resumes for me for a while. So the resources are out there. If you need people, you don't want to deal with sifting and sorting through and doing initial phone screens, that's an easy problem to fix.
Right. Yeah, and because we're facing that now. Like you get a lot of applicants, but it's like now I got to actually do the work, right? I got to actually talk to them and have conversations with people that you maybe you feel like you should have cut that conversation like 1 minute into it, right? Or maybe they even showed up and you were like, no, I think you should go home, right? So you run into all that kind of stuff.
We've never experienced that.
Yeah, not like, we've never experienced that like 30 minutes ago, right? So
Nick was in our lobby area just waiting, and he's hearing this interview that's going on in the conference room right behind. He's like, man, that's brutal.
Yeah, and what did you say? You said,
so I could tell it's not going well.
Yeah.
It was not.
we were just kind of finding things to say there. Right. So now, so that takes care of getting the right person and getting that person in the right seat. Now, so what about culture? So what type of things are you doing now to make sure that those 12 people are feeling it and want to be able to come into the office?
I mean, you got to put a vision out there, right? Like having a clear vision. Like, I'm telling them like, hey, I mean, where we're going to be like even 2-3 months from now, like look where we were 2-3 months back. And I'm always painting the picture. Like I have goals for them. Like once we get to our revenue goal, which is $417,000 for the month, I'm taking them to Cuba. Like,
right.
All expenses paid. We're going to Havana, smoking cigars, like
it's
the
nice.
whole nine, right? Like we play rap music in the office, and like we got a ping pong table.
Right.
Like keeping it lively in there, keeping everybody amped up is key, right? Because it's sales, like it's a mental game. So if you don't keep that energy, like I see the energy drinks in the office as an investment, right?
Right.
I got to keep them caffeinated.
Right.
And and we try to, that's something I'm always trying to improve on. Like, what can we do for like team outings? What can we do for goals? Like we have one of those spin wheels in the office.
Right.
Somebody gets a prize, or we actually have individual prizes and team prizes at different tiers. So little things like that keep everybody moving as a unit and keep everybody incentivized. So that culture's huge. I'll tell you, don't sleep on a ping pong table either. My guys are competitive.
Right.
In my office, it's it gets crazy over there.
Right. So we gotta get a ping pong table.
Yeah.
I'll be undefeated. No doubt. I'm ready to go to Austin and show some sales guys how to play.
Yeah, brilliant. Let's go.
Right. So, and then the other part is now that they're excited, right? So you got them all excited, you got the right person, right? They got to get paid at the same time, right? So how do you pay your salespeople right now?
So right now I do like a $2,000 a month. I call it a draw, but it's not really a draw. It's basically like a training pay for the first 60 days. I'm not going to make them pay it back. So they basically got 60 days to sink or swim.
Right.
Right. And then after that, it's anywhere from an 8 to 10% commission.
Okay.
And it's eat what you kill after that 60 days.
Okay. And everyone comes in at that position, or you just put them in, like, there's no certain position that they come in through, or they just start in acquisitions, they start in dispositions? How do you set that up?
I mean, those are the two main roles we hire for, is acquisitions and dispositions. We might do like a junior program, like junior dispo and junior acquisitions, but that's down the road, probably a couple quarters from now.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Perfect. And so, and how many deals are you doing a month now?
Right now, probably between like 30 to 40.
Killing it. Right. And, so a lot of people looked at also is that when you go to buying over the phone, right, is that you start seeing a reduction in your assignment fees, right? And I know I talked to you and you said that that's not always the case, right? Was that not the case when you started going to?
No, I mean, I haven't seen it. There's different scripts and things that you can do on the disposition side to create urgency with the buyers.
Right.
It's really not different. I mean, our average deal size is the same.
Right.
Like if you're looking for good closing skills on dispositions, because everybody in our office is in the office. The Keegley, they got a good program for dispositions.
Right.
Because they do it all, like a lot of it over the phone too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that program is really solid. So if you're looking for dispositions over the phone, that would be the one to go to. If you're looking for acquisitions over the phone, I would do the Rafael Vargas.
Okay. Yeah. Perfect. And so for that, so we've talked about, so you've gone in the last 6 months from doing, how many deals were you doing like 6 months ago? Just you and your partner? And you and your COO.
4 to like 6 a month was like pretty good.
Right.
Yeah.
You were doing 4 to 6 a month to 30 to 40 deals a month. Let that sink in for just a second. 6 months, right? And the catalyst to that seems like you jumped in, you went to a mastermind, went to an event, right? Shields came off. Then you went to another event where someone was actually doing the type of, business like Rafael, right?
That's right, yeah.
You saw Carlos and Sal, who were all doing, they're buying over the phone. You kind of modeled their business, right? I assume you looked at some of them. They told you the mistakes that they were happening, that they had, and you skipped those mistakes because you got with the right people and you learned from some and had some good mentors. And in 6 months, that's not even double. What's the math on that? Who can do that really fast? That's like,
don't ask me for math.
Yeah, it's like 3 or 4 times, 5 times. You 5 times your business. And over the last 6 months, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
So where do you see your business going now over the next 6 months to a year?
4 to 40. That's 10 times.
10 times. That's 10x. All right. So Mr. Grant Cardone, there you go.
I'm sorry. I was like,
just 10x.
what
Did you go to 10x last year also?
No, I missed 10x.
All right.
Yeah, maybe in Vegas.
There you go. So now you got.
He didn't need to go. He lived it.
Yeah, he lived it. He wrote the book. There you go. So 10x this business over the past 6 months. Where do you see it going now?
I mean, I really just want to max out my potential. Like it's really tough for me to project. I have revenue goals for myself. Like this year, I need to get up to at least 5 mil. Mm-hmm. But that's just the start, right? Like once my people, processes, and like systems are super dialed in, is really tough to say like where's the cap. I don't think there is a cap, right? So I'm not going to limit myself and say like, hey, I want to make this much money. I think we can, with the right people, processes, and tools, easily scale this thing to the moon. Like, in terms of like where I want to be, like I want to be like, I want to take this game as far as I can. Right. I mean, there's so many good teachers now. Like with the internet, it's crazy. So many good teachers putting out content, giving value. Like you should be able to learn from them and implement that stuff and take this stuff to a whole nother level. Like they've already paved the way and made mistakes. Like Sean Terry, Ken Clothier, those guys made all the mistakes years ago. Now we're further ahead than them. Right. And same things with the new guys coming out. Like just keep learning and implementing. So, yeah,
absolutely. So what does managing the transactions look like? Like I didn't hear a transaction coordinator.
I make all my dispo do transaction coordinator, and they hate me for it for sure. They ask me. I'm probably gonna get them a TC. Yeah.
I've actually proposed to Undrea on multiple occasions that we switch TC to a dispositions role as well.
I figured they would hate it too.
Yeah, the communication though, it's always back and forth between them, and there's just so many moving parts and different people, and it's just like it may make sense to move that to dispositions, but yet you're right, it's probably a different personality.
Yeah, and so we don't want to leave people with like false expectations, right? So we want to put a few numbers to it, because I assume like your marketing budget probably right now is about $1,500 a month is what you're spending on marketing, and then you're killing 40 deals.
He's like, wait a second, did you say 1,500?
Then you're doing like 40 deals a month, right? And you're just blowing it up. I assume that's what you're spending in marketing. Is that right?
I spent $1,500 before I woke up this morning.
Right. Yeah. Like you sneeze. Oh, that was $1,500 right there.
No.
Right.
No.
So what's your marketing budget looking like on a monthly basis?
It's about like $60,000.
Right. So $60,000, and then I assume you got to have more than like 5 leads or so a month to make that happen.
We got a lot of leads. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So
in terms of like lead count per week, it's like probably 225 to 250 a week.
Okay. So about 250 leads a week. And then, so what's your average right now? How many leads does it take you to get a deal?
Right now, it depends on the source, right? For pay-per-click advertising, it's 1 in 17. And for cold calling, it's 1 in 26.
Okay. Perfect. So
you see how he just knows his KPIs like that.
Right.
So we've talked about KPIs, and it's always the part of the business that sucks for all entrepreneurs because it's something that you have to sit down and just manage. If you want to build your business, you got to know those numbers.
Right. Yeah. If you want to be doing 30 to 40 deals a month, then know your numbers, right?
Yeah.
And that's key. And the reason why I didn't want to leave everyone thinking that, okay, now I should be doing that also, then you need to know what he's putting in to the business in order to know what he's getting out of it, right?
Yeah. Even if you're just a solopreneur, track everything. Like, how much did I spend on marketing this week? How many leads did I get in? Out of those leads, how many, deals that I get, et cetera. Like, track all that stuff, even if it's just you, because you can't be making just decisions on whims. Like, oh, I feel like this marketing campaign is not working out, or I feel no, that's garbage. That's trash. Do not go on feel. Like, make business decisions based on your numbers.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, and that kind of leads me to kind of the final part. Like, what would you leave that for that new person just getting started? All right. What advice would you give to them?
I mean, if you're just getting started, you don't think, because you're seeing people with Lambos and, wearing red bottoms and all that on Instagram, right, you're going to do a couple of deals and that's going to be your life. Like, this shit is hard work. It's not like you're going to just, be a millionaire overnight. Yes, it can happen. This is a tremendous vehicle to make yourself like live a very nice lifestyle. But, don't go in with false expectations thinking it's just overnight. Like, you're going to have to put in that work. And I would say to shortcut that work, to, get that learning curve down, like I mentioned earlier in the podcast, was find the best mentor and just put it on credit card and go. Cause
right,
you're not going to regret the investment. I can't tell you the amount of money and, pain that I've experienced from just trying to do it my own way.
Right.
And trying to learn it on YouTube for free too.
Right.
Yeah.
There it is. Right. So, Nick, definitely want to thank you for driving all the way down, in studio guest all the way from Austin, Texas. Definitely appreciate you for coming out, dropping some knowledge bombs on us with us today. Andy, you have anything else you want to add on the end right there?
No, that's it. I think that's great advice to the next guy. I mean, be ready to spend the money, but don't set the expectation in your mind that just spending that money is going to change your life. You've got to take the action as well. Right. And you started with the action. You take what they're saying, expedite your learning curve. I think that's absolutely great advice for anybody that's just getting started.
Right. Perfect. And so, Wholesale Nation, if you like what you heard today and you've been liking what you're hearing, don't forget to go ahead and like and subscribe. We'll of course like 5 stars. You can give us whatever you like, but give us 5. But we definitely appreciate it. Check us out on YouTube also.
So Nick, how do they reach out to you?
I mean, just find me on Instagram. It's Nick Perry REI. Feel free to reach out. I'll follow you back and ask me any questions. Happy to help.
Right. And you're all over. So if people need help in other cities, selling properties, things like that, you'd be able to help them with that as well.
Facebook, Instagram. Yeah.
There you go. All right. Perfect. We'll put that in the show notes for everyone to see. We want to thank everyone for listening today. All right. Y'all come back now. You hear?